In this video, we'll continue with the next 11 motor carriers from 1939, the ones ranked from 111 to 121 in order of revenues. All of them had annual revenues in the $500,000 range, and there were 3 that didn't make any money. Let's get started with number 121. It's a company named McCulloch Transfer Company, a carrier based in Youngstown, Ohio. A rather small company with 65 employees that did a sizable amount of its business hauling for Youngstown Sheet and Tube Company. Using 39 company-owned trucks and tractors, McCulloch trucks traveled 1.42 million miles in intercity freight. The company used a lot of owner-operators as well, and they traveled more miles in intercity freight than company-owned trucks. Moving right along to number 120 is Overnight Motor Transportation Company, Incorporated. Based in Baltimore, Maryland, it's not the same Overnight that most of you may remember. This one had just over 900 miles of routes, had 55 trucks and tractors, along with 163 employees. This motor carrier is one of the 3 that did not earn any money in 1939. They had a loss of $16,992. Another money-losing carrier in 1939 was York Buffalo Motor Express Incorporated. The company lost $24,215 that year. Willard Ross Ramsey became head of the firm in 1934 and helped York Buffalo to grow to having more than 100 trucks operating over an 8,600-mile route network from Baltimore and Washington, D.C., northward to Philadelphia, Reading, York, Williamsport, Syracuse, Rochester, and Buffalo. H.P. Welch Company was a carrier in 1939 operating in New England with just over 2,000 miles of routes. Assets were $232,000 with 66 trucks and tractors. 192 people worked for H.P. Welch Company. Another money loser for 1939, but they only had a $632 loss. Let's talk about Johnson Motor Lines. During trucking history, there were actually 2 of them using the same name. Most will remember the one from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're not talking about that one. They weren't even around in 1939. The Johnson Motor Lines in this countdown was based in Texas. The main routes for Johnson were between Abilene to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Some smaller routes added to their 2,400-mile route network using all company-owned fleet of 115 power units. Johnson Motor Lines in Texas was number 117 on our list. Lyons Transportation Company had a small regional operation in 1939, covering an area basically between Cleveland, Ohio, Erie, Pennsylvania, and Buffalo, New York. Lyons had only 1,000 miles of routes, had 155 employees, and had a small fleet of 44 power units. Lyons was at number 116. The motor carrier at 115 might confuse some. It has a familiar name to everyone now, but in 1939 the present-day name had been not even formed yet. You know about FedEx. In 1939 there was a trucking firm named Federal Express Incorporated. The 1,131 miles of routes included between Indianapolis, Indiana, across Ohio, to Wheeling, West Virginia, also between Fort Wayne and Toledo, and several routes entirely within Ohio. Here's a look at the company. Revenues were $572,000, net income of $35,000. Assets of slightly over $100,000. They owned 9 power units, which traveled 160,000 miles in intercity freight. More than 10 times that in leased equipment from owner-operators. 66 employees worked for Federal Express, and the company did a sizable amount of interline freight, spending over $241,000. Novick Transfer Company was based in Winchester, Virginia, and operated between points in Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New York. With 180 employees, 60 of them being drivers, using the 51 power units over the 6,300 miles of routes. The company was profitable, not having income of $52,000 on revenues of $577,000. Novick Transfer was owned by Abram Jerome Novick, and they were number 114 on our countdown. At number 113 is Western Trucking Company Incorporated. The company had an extensive coverage of operating authority of 2,443 route miles, covering an area from Cincinnati, Ohio, to St. Louis and parts of Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. With 30 company-owned trucks and tractors, Western Trucking Company used a lot of owner-operators that leased their equipment to the firm. However, Western Trucking Company did no interline freight with other carriers. Victor Lynn Lines Incorporated was an unusual company. The former Victor Lynn Transportation Company Incorporated went bankrupt in 1938, and in early 1939, a group submitted the only bid to purchase all the assets to form a new corporation, and they were going to call it Victor Lynn Lines Incorporated. All the other bidders that wanted to buy the company were going to buy only certain amounts and piecemeal, so the acceptable bid to buy the whole company was accepted. Not only a trucking company, it also had a freight boat business with 4 ships operating between Salisbury, Baltimore, and Cambridge. The trucking division had terminals in New York, Newark, Philadelphia, Wilmington, Delaware, Milford, Delaware, Dover, Delaware, Salisbury, Maryland, and Cambridge. With owned and leased equipment, the fleet had 125 units in the fleet. Victor Lynn Lines made our list at number 112. Yellow Truck Lines is the last one we'll cover, and it's not the same carrier as most would think of when they think of Yellow Freight System. The Yellow Truck Lines I'm talking about in 1939 at number 111 in our countdown was incorporated with $80,000 of capital on December 1st, 1929. Their home office was in Madison, Wisconsin, and their routes ran as far south as Chicago, Illinois, north to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and west to Dubuque, Iowa. Well, that's it for the 11 I wanted to cover in this video. I hope you're enjoying this countdown of the top Class 1 carriers of 1929. I'm really enjoying doing the research for you and presenting the list to you. If you like what I'm doing, leave a comment. And if you're not subscribing to the channel, I hope you will. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.